Thank you. Good afternoon. Both sides ready?
State's ready.
Mr. Dreicer, Mr. Hill? Okay. All right, let's bring in the jurors, please. Thank you. All right. Welcome back, members of the jury. Everyone may be seated. All right. How was lunch today? Okay, good. All right. So we are ready to continue with the evidence. State of Florida, call your next witness.
Chris Johns.
Chris Johns. Good afternoon, Detective. All right. Will you please raise your right hand to be sworn in?
Detective, do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
You proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, jury knows you. We don't have to go through any introductions. You've been brought back primarily to discuss the financial records that you obtained during the course of your investigation. But there was one thing we forgot to ask you, and that's State's Exhibit 199. Detective, have you had the occasion to go to the Potomac address, Mario Fernandez's former rental house, to see how it looks today?
Yes, I have.
I'm showing you it's been entered into evidence of State's Exhibit 199. Is that a fair and accurate depiction of how it looks today?
Yes, it is.
And I think in the top left-hand corner of the picture, it says the Google Earth image is approximately March of 2025.
That's correct.
So State's Exhibit 199 would have been after Mr. Fernandez sold the home.
Yes.
So now we can go to some of the financial records you obtained. How do you as an investigator go about obtaining financial records?
Through a subpoena issued by the state attorney's office.
And when you receive those records, do you also receive an affidavit saying that these records are made in the normal course of business?
Yes.
Okay, so what we're going to do is, first of all, State's Exhibit 171. I'm going to give the jury an idea of how these records are contained. I've opened up State's Exhibit 171, and it should be on everyone's screen now. I hit the right button, but I didn't. So when the jury looks at the Tenon financial records, we see two different folders come up. Can you explain that to the jury what those are?
One of them is a Credit One bank credit card, and it's just the credit card statements, and I think the application information. The other folder is his PNC Bank subpoena return, which is his bank account.
Okay, if we open up the Credit One, is this what you refer to as his credit card history?
Yes, sir.
I think it's all pretty self-explanatory, so we don't need to go through that. But let's look at the PNC bank records. We see two different folders when we click on those. Is there overlap contained in those records?
Yes, there is.
Why do we have overlap?
It was just the time period that was requested on the subpoena, and so it was the return of it.
So is there any reason for the jury to spend their time on the June 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022 files?
No, the first folder basically covers the time period that we reviewed and then up until the time that he was arrested.
So that would be the 1/1/2022 to August 18th, 2022.
That's correct.
Okay. First thing we're going to look at is that certification. Is that what you refer to as you received from the records custodian?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The jury can see that published. So we will now go to 1/1/2022 to 8/18/2022. Do we see some redactions in these?
Yes, sir.
Is that like for things like social security numbers?
That's correct.
Okay. Of course. There it is. Of course, this Adobe looks completely different from my Adobe. There we go. So looking at page 22 of States 171, what is the jury looking at here?
This is a checking or statement for his checking account at PNC Bank.
If we scroll down on page 22, can you, for the record and for the jury, indicate what the beginning balance and ending balance was of Henry Tenon on his bank statement for the dates of 1/7/2022 to 2/4/2022?
I believe the,
Well, I guess let me show that for the jury. Is that 1/7/2022 to 2/4/2022 the period of the bank statement?
yes, sir.
All right, and then scrolling down to the balance summary.
The beginning balance is 52 cents and the ending balance is negative $2.38.
And how many deposits and other additions were there in the bank account?
There was a total of $250 in deposits and there were deductions in the amount of $252.90.
And we see an average monthly balance. Could you read that for the record?
The average monthly balance on the statement is negative $66.17.
And were there additional charges and fees, like overdraft fees, that were included?
$36 for the statement.
Do these statements also contain banking and debit card withdrawals and purchases?
Yes.
Let's go now to the period 2/5 to 3/4. And do we see that at the top of the statement on page 24?
Yes.
And then going to the balance summaries, can you again show the jury the ending balance, the deposits, and the ending balance?
The beginning balance was negative $2.38. There were $703.50 in deposits, $643.80 in deductions, giving an ending balance of $57.30.
Okay, we also see significant overdraft fees.
There were a total of $144 in overdraft fees.
And again, we see the debit card withdrawals and purchases.
Yes, sir.
So now going to 3/5 to 4/6 of 2022, beginning on page 26, what is the balance summaries?
The beginning balance was $57.30. The deposits were $11,518.95. Deductions were $4,601.79. He have an ending balance of $6,974.46, bring his average monthly balance to $941.36, and there were $180 in overdraft fees.
So going to the deposits and other additions on page 27, do we see 3 significant check deposits?
Yes.
And can you put the dates and the amounts?
On 3/28, he deposited a check for $2,000. On 3/29, he deposited an additional $3,000 check. And then on April 6th, he deposited a $5,000 check.
And do these checks end up matching the business check stubs that were found in Henry Tenon's truck?
Yes.
Do we also see cash deposits?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll get to those in a little bit. And again, we see banking card withdrawals and purchases.
That's correct.
Do we see work that corresponds to Henry Tenon's truck on 4/4 of 2022?
Yes, sir, we do.
Discount tire, as well as advance auto parts on 4/4. Do we see those?
Correct, yes.
So we're going to fast forward to page 39. That's not page 39. This is. Okay, we're looking at page, 38 going into page 39. Do we have the pay period several months later?
Yes, July 8th through August 4th.
And what are the balances?
The beginning balance is $204.63. There were $829.84 in deposits. There were $1,336.39 in deductions, with an ending balance of negative $301.92.
And this would have been the balance shortly before Mr. Tenon's arrest.
That's correct.
So now if we would go ahead and fast forward, do these records contain the check deposits and or the deposit slips of cash that Mr. Tenon did?
Yes.
So turning first to page 44, what are we looking at here?
That is a check, like an electronic check for a credit card payment.
Let's see here, make it look a little bit bigger.
I'm sorry, that's an Advance America payment.
I need to make it bigger. So this was paid to Advance America as from Henry Tenon. In other words, he owed them money for advances.
That's correct.
And that was the amount of $100 done on July 29th of 2022.
Correct.
And then we're going to go to page 50. It's smaller. What is the jury looking at on page 50?
This is a paycheck for Mr. Tenon from Monis Pallets.
Can you state what the amount is?
$364.37.
In reviewing Mr. Tenon's bank records, were his payments from Monis and Pallets typically in this amount range?
Fairly consistent amount.
And did they also always include cents? In other words, they weren't flat numbers, like 100 or 200.
That's correct.
And will we see some of these deposits in his bank records?
Yes.
Did you give the date of January 28th of 2022?
No, it's dated January 28th, 2022.
That's okay. The jury can read that. And does it say in the memo what the pay period was?
Yes, the pay period is January 16th, 2022 to January 22nd, 2022.
So about $364.37 for a week's worth of work.
Yes, sir.
And do we see that corresponding deposit?
Yes, sir.
Okay, looking now at page 250, in reviewing these records, did you also notice that Mr. Tenon was making cash deposits?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any idea where that cash came from?
No, sir, I did not.
So looking at page 52, do you see a cash deposit February 11th of 2022 for $250?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And remind us about when the homicide was?
It was the 16th of February.
Do we see the corresponding deposit check?
Yes, sir.
On 2/18 of 2022, do we also see a cash deposit?
Yes, sir, we do for $340.
And do we see that corresponding deposit check
Yes, sir.
or slip? Looking now at page 56, what is the date and deposit here?
It is March 14th, 2022,
And for how much?
$520.
Okay. User error. All right, if we can go to page 56, what are we looking at here?
It's a deposit ticket for $520.
And then page 58.
It's another deposit ticket for $150 on March 18th.
Then on March 28th of 2022, is this the deposit slip for the $2,000 check?
Yes, sir, it is.
And on page 60, what is that?
That is a check written to Mr. Tenon for $2,000 from First Choice Home Rentals, LLC, on March 28th, 2022.
And for how much?
$2,000.
And for what?
According to the memo line, it's for landscaping and clearing.
The person that writes the check puts that information on.
Yes, sir.
In reviewing the records in this case, did you find any invoices from Henry Tenon charging for $2,000 worth of landscaping and clearing?
No, sir, I did not.
And who signed the check?
Mario Fernandez.
And then on the same day, there's another check on page 62. Please read it for the record.
Also from First Choice Home Rentals, LLC, to Mr. Tenon for $3,000. It says keeping up with the roof, also signed by Mario Fernandez.
Again, did you see any invoices corresponding to that?
No, sir.
And is that the deposit slip for the $3,000 on page 63?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Then the next check is 4/4 of 2022 on page 64. What are we looking at here?
Also, the third check written by First Choice Home Rentals, LLC, dated 4/4/2022, made out to Henry Tenon for $5,000. The memo line says Kickstarter, good luck, and it's signed by Mario Fernandez.
So for the period of time that you looked at Henry Tenon's bank records, were these payments different from the payments he received for his normal job at the pallet company?
Yes, sir.
Were they significantly more money?
Very much so.
And do we see the deposit on page 65?
Yes, sir.
And just to show the jury some of the deposits for his work at his pallet company, we're looking at page 66 is a deposit slip for 2 different checks.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And do we have pictures of those checks on page 67 and then 68?
Yes, sir.
First 67, again, this is from Monis and Pallets, and we talked about that non-round figure of $367.88.
88 cents, yes.
And again, do we have a pay period listed there?
April 10th, 2022 to April 16th, 2022.
And then again, on page 68, please put the amount, the date, and then the pay period.
The check's dated 4/15/2022. It's for $483.79. And the pay period is April 3rd, 2022 to April 9th, 2022.
And then we also see some cash deposits.
Yes, sir. A cash deposit for $700 on May 11th.
Again, you don't know where that cash came from.
No, sir.
More cash deposits. Let's go ahead and go to 75. So we see, we don't have to go through each cash deposit. The jury can find that there are several cash deposits.
Yes, sir.
And then go to some more of the checks. On page 77. And for the record, just put those items of information on the record.
It's a paycheck from June 10th, 2022 for $365.19. The pay period is May 29th, 2022 through June 4th, 2022.
And then page 80.
This paycheck is dated July 8th, 2022. It is for $324.93. And the pay period covered is June 26th, 2022 to July 2nd, 2022.
Now, Detective, could some of the cash deposits be situations where the legitimate work that Mr. Tenon did was deposited, then taken out, and then redeposited?
Yes, sir.
We just don't know where the cash came from.
That's correct.
Okay. We are now going to look at Mr. Fernandez and Ms. Gardner's financials. So when we open up their financials, do we look at 3 different folders?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Explain to the jury what the 3 folders are.
The Navy Federal return, which is, I would say, their primary banking institution. And then Mr. Fernandez had some accounts at USAA. And then there was also an account at Dreicer, which I believe he might have been associated with, but I don't believe that to be his money. I believe it was his mother's.
And these 3 are going to be in States Exhibit 170. So let's look at the Navy Federal, since that's the primary one that we're going to be looking at. Do we see that certification in the first Adobe file?
Yes, sir.
And I'll start with, what is Navy Federal Beached Bake 904?
That is a small cookie business that they owned.
And then do we have a Fernandez checking and savings account in the third Adobe?
Yes, sir.
We also have a First Choice Home Rental in the fourth.
Yes, sir.
Do we have a Shanna Gardner checking and savings in the fifth?
That's correct.
And then the Shanna Gardner Irrevocable Trust in the sixth.
Yes, sir.
So we'll begin first by going through the First Choice Home Rental, because we have First Choice Home Rental checks that were deposited in Henry Tenon's account that we just saw.
That's correct.
So page 2, what are we looking at here?
This is the membership application for Navy Federal Credit Union for the First Choice banking relationship, and it lists the 2 owners of this LLC.
And who are the 2 owners?
Mario Fernandez and Shanna Gardner.
Is there a percentage of ownership listed?
According to this application, it shows that Mario Fernandez is 60% and Shanna Gardner is 40%.
Okay. So we are going to go, and certainly all of these are in the record, so I'm only skipping things for time's sake. Page 46, this is going to be for the time period of February 1st, 2022 to February 28th, 2022.
Yes, sir.
Explain to the jury what they're looking at in the business checking and the business savings account of this LLC.
This is the statement for the period that you stated, 2/1/2022 through 2/28/2022. Unlike a lot of banks, credit unions you have a main account number, and then you would have what they refer to as shares, which are just like sub-accounts of your main account. In this case, you're looking at one, which is the business checking account, and then the other, which is just the business savings account.
And the previous balances, and then show what's deposited.
The total previous balance was $4,206 for both accounts. The total deposits were $56,201.67. Withdrawals were $601.33, and then the ending total balance for both of those sub-accounts is $59,806.61.
And then we'll see on page 47, obviously there was a lot of money deposited. Does it say on 222 and 228 where those $5,000 and $50,000 deposits came from?
I know at least the $50,000 one came from Mr. Fernandez's account.
So from his account into the LLC.
That's correct.
So we see here a transfer from checking for Courtney Thomas. What is this?
That would be a rent payment, I believe.
And do we see that reoccurring on a monthly basis?
Yes.
And is that for the Sandalwood property as opposed to the Potomac property?
That's correct.
Do we have evidence in the Potomac property that rent was approximately $700?
I think it was 800, but I'm not sure.
708,
Yeah.
somewhere in that range. Okay. Do we see on page 50 that there were some legitimate payments made for the care of the Potomac home?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And please show that to the jury.
You need my, sure.
Should I stop? No, I was just wondering what was going on.
Okay. Mr. Mizrahi.
So we're looking at, get the thing back. We're looking at page 50. If you could show the jury the payment to Bueller.
Yes, sir. Right there on March 3rd, there's a $14,000 payment right there. And that was for Bueller Air Conditioning.
And do we also see payments for items from the Home Depot?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Do we also see that $2,000 and $3,000 checks that correspond to the checks written to Henry Tenon?
Yes, sir.
And your review of these records was the balance of over $55,000 unusual for this LLC?
Yes, sir.
And although unusual, there was a large expenditure to Bueller Air.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Was the amount that was deposited well in excess of the $14,000 to Bueller Air?
Yes, it was.
So we're fast forwarding to, well, too fast. Going back to page 53, which is on a separate statement, do we see that $5,000 check on 4/7 made to Henry Tenon?
Yes, sir.
Am I underlining it on check 29?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
We also see a check 30, it was $240.
Yes, sir.
Did Mr. Tenon also deposit cash amounts in $240 increments sometimes?
Yes.
And that $5,000 that we see on 4/7, what was the memo line of that $5,000?
I believe it said Kickstarter, good luck.
Okay, going now to page 59. Do we see transfers that reduce the balance in this account directly to Mario Fernandez?
Yes, sir.
And just, I guess, point the dates out and circle them for the jury.
Looks like June 16th, June 23rd for 5,000, and then an additional for 5,000. And then there's another one for 500 on the 24th.
I think the $500 was a reoccurring one as payment for like his doing this work.
Yes, sir.
And then going to page 72. What are we looking at on page 72, specifically the October 14th?
There was a cash withdrawal for $10,000.
And below that, do we see a transfer to from checking back into the account?
Yes, sir.
In reviewing all of these records, do there appear to be a lot of money moving around?
There was, yes, sir.
And in your training experience, could you figure out really a reason why all this money was moving around?
No, there was no what seemed legitimate reason for it.
Grounds.
Lack of foundation and speculation.
I'll sustain as a foundation.
Well, let me just ask the question because you kind of added on sometimes. Did you see any reason why any of this should be happening?
I'm going to object to his opinion as to the reason.
Let me see it at sidebar. You may proceed.
Thank you, Aaron. So we left off on page 72. Do we see a cash withdrawal for $10,000 and then a transfer of $5,000?
Yes, sir.
We're going to now, do these records also contain the checks?
Yes, sir, they do.
And we're going to start those on page 117. So explain to the jury what they're looking at on 117.
This is a check written to Tri-H Construction for $2,000.
And is there in the memo line or four-line information?
Yes, it lists the White Horse property address, and I can't read the rest of the memo line there.
It may say
Agreement draw, I think.
I'm not really sure.
Agreement drawn or agreement draw, something like that.
And the White Horse is the Sandalwood address?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And then on page 118, what are we looking at here?
Also a check to Tri-H Construction for $16,300. And it says siding repairs, and it also gives the White Horse Road address.
And both of these checks are back in one of them doesn't have a date on it. Maybe on the other part of the check it does. Yeah, they're both in 2021. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
And then on page 119,
Another check to Tri-H Construction for $2,573.99. And it says for siding and electrical.
page 120,
This check is dated October 14th, 21 to Current Electrical Contractors Incorporated. It's for $317 and is also for the White Horse property. It has an invoice number there.
it has an invoice number. Okay, and then on page 121.
This is the $2,000 check that we saw with Mr. Tenon's records. It says for landscaping and clearing.
Page 122.
Another check written to Mr. Tenon for $3,000, and it says keeping up with the roof.
And 123.
A check dated 4/4/2022 for $5,000. And it says written to Mr. Tenon, and it says Kickstarter, good luck.
And do we see a check on page 124?
Yes, sir. This one was written April 5th, 2022 to J.B. Cornwell, I believe. $240. Dirt AS, I'm not sure.
And then on page 125.
Check written on 4/22/2022 for $7,494, written to Current Electrical Contractors Incorporated, and it lists the Potomac address.
Page 126.
Check written on June 30th of 2022 to JB Corwell for $425. I believe it says store 57.
I think, Detective, if you look at for deposit only, it may be JB Coxwell.
Oh, sorry. Yes, JB Coxwell.
They're a contractor with an operating account.
Yes.
Page 127.
June 30th, also to JB Coxwell for $200. It says for fill dirt for the White Horse Road address.
128.
Current Electrical Contractors Incorporated for $158. And it says invoice 2864-A.
So let's look at the third one, which is Mario Enrique Fernandez's accounts. And do we see his information as well as a family member, which is his brother?
Yes, sir.
And I'm fast forwarding now to page 59. What are we looking at for the statement period 4/8 of 22 to 5/27 of 22?
Yes, sir.
Is there an interesting deposit?
There is a transfer of $45,000.
So what was the beginning balance and what was the ending balance?
The previous balance, or the starting balance, had been $49,804.69. And the ending balance was $2,000, 15.43 cents.
We're into page 151. 4/28/22 to 5/27/22. If we fast forward in those accounts, on page 151, turning your attention to 813, what do we see on in 813?
There was a cash withdrawal of $2,250.
Turning now to the next page. This is going to be page 152. And again, we're looking at a statement period now because we're jumping between different checking accounts in July of 2021. What is this?
It's a bank wire that was received for $382,894.34.
And did your investigation lead to where that came from?
That was the sale of the house that Miss Gardner owned prior to marrying Mr. Fernandez.
And we can see that that money remained in the account for some period of time.
Yes, sir.
And then turning to the next statement period, going from August to September of 21, we still have a large portion of that money remaining in that account.
Yes, sir.
Do we have large withdrawals?
Yes, sir.
And showing you page 156, do we see one of those large withdrawals on 9/13?
Yes, sir, for $150,000.
Now, during the course of your investigation, were you able to determine what Mr. Fernandez's employment was during the period of time that was relevant to your investigation?
I believe during the time that we were looking at these bank statements, he received money from the VA.
In addition to any monies he was receiving from the VA, did he have some rental properties?
Yes, sir, he did.
Which I think you said totaled about less than $2,000?
I believe during the period we looked at, there was a total of $31,500 in rental payments.
Did your investigation lead to where this money is all coming from?
Most of the money that was transferred into this account would have derived from the trust.
And whose trust is that?
Ms. Gardner's.
In your investigation, I think the jury's already heard that her parents were very wealthy.
Yes, sir.
Just look at a couple more of these. 176. Do we see a large withdrawal during the period of time of 1/28/22 to 2/27/22?
Yes, sir. There was a large withdrawal of $36,500.
And then page 180, which is the same period of time, 2/28/22 to 3/27/22. Do we have a large transfer to checking?
Yes, the $50,000 transfer.
Fast forwarding to page 265, I know the jury has already seen the fact that these accounts contain checks. What are we looking at on page 265?
That is a check that was written to Mr. Fernandez from Mercedes-Benz of Jacksonville for $35,000.
And did your investigation lead to what that was for?
I believe that's for the sale of the Tesla.
And finally, on page 277, what are we looking at there?
That is a check to Mario Fernandez from Shelley and Sterling Gardner for $75,000.
What was the date of that?
I believe it was 12/21.
I'll go back to it. Just for the record.
December 21st, 2021.
And is there anything on the memo line?
No, sir.
So I want to spend just a minute on the beach baked. Is Mr. Fernandez also listed as the named person on that account?
Yes, sir, he is.
And does it list the 1511 Marsh Inlet Court address?
Yes, sir.
And does it also list Ms. Gardner as well?
Yes, it does.
So just to show the jury, are there any large amounts that are either deposited or written checks on this account?
No, they're usually fairly small amounts, less than $1,000.
Is that consistent with what you learned about the home baked goods account business that Ms. Gardner ran?
Yes, sir.
So just for example, on page 8, we're talking about balances that range between $500 and $1,700.
Yes, sir.
And then on page 10, $500 to $1,100.
That's correct.
All right. Now, we're going to look at the irrevocable trust. Before we go into what's contained in the bank records, did you also review the trust documents in this case?
Yes, sir, we did.
And what did the trust documents say about Jared Bridegan?
that Miss Gardner could resume being in charge of her trust once she had no further legal entanglements with Mr. Bridegan.
We'll look at that in a minute. This is Bridegan. It's definitely here. I just forgot to write the page down. All right. Let's look at who was the trustee of the irrevocable, Shanna Gardner Irrevocable Trust.
Mr. Fernandez.
And do we see that here contained on page 1?
Yes.
Skip to page 25. Can you explain to the jury the statement period 7/18/21 to 8/27/21, what they're looking at?
Yes, it looks like there was one sub-checking account and then 3 sub-savings accounts. And the total balance, or the beginning balance for the statement period would have been $181,195.93. Ending balance for the entire of the sub-accounts was $179,713.46.
And the identical balances in the 2 savings accounts, would that correspond to the accounts that were designated for AB and LB?
Yes.
Guess we need to go to the beginning of the trust. Do we have an ending balance of 12/28/20 to 1/27 of 21?
The ending balance was $218,655.88.
Looked at page 52. What are we looking at here? First of all, let me put the dates. 4/8/28 of 2022 to 5/27 of 2022.
Yes, sir.
What are we looking at here?
The beginning balance was $251,026.15. And then the ending balance was $12,202.61.
And what happened from the 2021, early 2022 statements until April and May of 22? What had changed?
Ms. Gardner had opened up another account, and I believe they were separating, so they were transferring out all the remaining assets.
Was there a need for an irrevocable trust anymore?
No.
And we see on that 5/2 transfer of $120,000?
Yes, sir.
Page 68, which is going to be September of 2022, what are we looking at?
This is the Shanna Gardner Irrevocable Trust statement, and it is $0.
And I'm showing you what has been entered into evidence as defense exhibit number 3, subsection C, page 25. Can you read that into the record?
Furthermore, and notwithstanding the foregoing, when our daughter Shanna shall have no further legal entanglements with her ex-husband, Jared G. Bridegan, she may elect to serve as the trustee by delivering a signed and notarized document to the trustee then in office.
So we look at page 72. Do we also see a corresponding check to Shanna Gardner in the amount of $75,000 that corresponds to the date and time that Mario Fernandez received that $75,000 check?
Yes, sir.
So now I want to look at Ms. Gardner's checking and savings account. And we're going to go first, page 38. If you could just explain to the jury what they're looking at for the statement period 12/20/21 to 1/19 of 2022.
She has two sub-accounts, a checking and a savings, with a total previous balance of $1,245 and an ending balance of $1,120.63.
And do we see those everyday checking things that she's paying for and things like that?
Yes, sir.
And then from 1/20/22 to 2/19 of 2022, similar type balances?
Yes, sir.
And then 2/20 to 3/19, do we have similar type balances?
Yes, sir.
And then 3/20 to 4/19, similar balances?
Yes, sir.
Then 4/20 to 5/19 of 2022, what's changed?
There was a significant increase in the balances.
Can you show the deposits for the jury and say what they are?
So the previous starting balance was $3,246. And then there was a total deposit in the amount of $233,419.09. And then withdrawals of $15,511.80, giving her an ending balance of $221,147.01.
And do we see those 50, 45, and 120,000 figures in different parts of the other accounts?
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with the $10,000 threshold?
Yes, I am.
Explain that to the jury.
If you take a cash withdrawal or do a wire in the amount of in $10,000 or more, they're required to do a currency transaction report, which basically reports to FinCEN or the Treasury Department any large movement of money.
That's all the questions. Joe.
Thank you. Cross-examination?
Yes, ma'am.
You need a moment, Mr. Mizrahi.
Other than dropping my pen, no. Don't.
I need to take a few trips.
That's it. It's evidence. You need this?
No.
This is your notebook.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good to see you again. Let's talk about a few things first, globally. Shanna Gardner's family is extremely wealthy, correct?
Yes, sir.
Hundreds of millions of dollars in yearly revenue, correct?
That's what's been reported.
You have no reason to believe that's not true, right?
No, sir.
And Shanna Gardner's parents gave Miss Gardner and Mr. Fernandez money, correct?
Yes, sir.
And through your investigation, you were able to learn that it wasn't just those two $75,000 checks. They got regular and reoccurring money from the Gardner family, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So although you just talked about two checks, since the moment Mr. Fernandez married into that family, he started getting money, correct?
I can only go and report what is the time period that was reviewed, which those are the only checks that were received, but I have no reason to believe that they did not receive other funds.
They got money wired to them, correct?
Well, the wire that I saw was from the sale of the house.
No, but there was in all of the records you reviewed, they got money wired from the Gardners to themselves, not just checks, correct?
I actually don't recall seeing a wire from them.
You're not suggesting to this jury that they got 2 checks for $75,000.
No, their lifestyle was funded by the Gardners.
And let's back up a little bit. Let's back up. Jared Bridegan was married to Shanna Gardner, correct?
Yes, sir.
And he didn't work when he was married to Shanna Gardner, did he?
As it was reported, that's correct.
He lived off of the Shanna Gardner trust money, correct?
Yes.
Because you know through your investigation that the Shanna Gardner family paid their children for all sorts of reasons, educational reasons, and as part of their trust fund money, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you pointed out a big transfer from the sale of the home of $382,000. Do you recall when I asked you on direct examination how much Mr. Bridegan got when Miss Gardner sold the home?
I don't recall the figure, but there was an amount he received.
About $390,000 that Mr. Jared Bridegan received, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So no different that Mr. Bridegan received hundreds of thousands of dollars via the Gardner family, right?
Correct.
Okay. So in this trust, you were able to learn that not only did Shanna Gardner get money, the Gardners also gave their other children money, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So there's no disagreement that the extremely wealthy Gardner family gave their children money, right?
No.
And did you make sure that it was clear, and I will if you didn't, the $75,000 checks dated 12/21, Shanna Gardner got $75,000, right?
$75,000 went into the trust and $75,000 went into Mr. Fernandez's account.
Right, from the Gardner money.
Yes.
And the purpose of the trust was so that her money was protected, right?
Yes.
And you said that you were a financial planner here in town. You have your own business, right?
Yes.
So you certainly are aware that wealthy people give their children money, right?
Yes.
For tax reasons, right?
Various reasons.
To lower their inheritance tax, right?
There's several reasons, yes.
Dozens of reasons why really wealthy people start trusts for their children, right?
Yes.
So let's just globally talk about a few more things. That trust document that says that Shanna Gardner can be the trustee of her own trust if she so elects, if she doesn't have any entanglements with Jared Bridegan, does it say anything about Mario Fernandez?
No, it does not.
So in fact, if she has no entanglements with Jared Bridegan, she gets to control the trust, right?
That's correct.
Mr. Fernandez is already in control of the trust, right?
Yes.
He is the trustee, okay? Right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's now talk about what Mr. Fernandez had prior to the homicide. I'll stand here. Can you publish this? Can you zoom out? Can you see this, Detective?
Yes, sir.
This would be from the same records that you were talking about from states 170, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is a Navy Federal account, right?
That's correct.
This is Mr. Fernandez's personal checking accounts, right?
I can't see the titling, but at the top.
Okay, sorry. There we go.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Gardner's not on this account, correct?
That's correct.
This is just his money. He can do whatever he wants with it, right?
Yes, sir.
And this is the month,
I believe it's on December 28th at the top. But
yeah, December 28th to January 27th. So this is before the homicide, right?
yes, sir.
Mr. Fernandez had access to $212,000, correct?
Yes, sir.
If he wanted to do anything he wanted with that money, there's no trust that dictates what he could do. That is his money, right?
I mean, I don't know what a divorce attorney would say about that, but otherwise, yes.
They weren't getting divorced, right? So you're married, happily married people. You can just go and take whatever money you want out of your account, right?
Yes, sir.
You don't have to call a divorce attorney to do that. That's your right to do whatever you so choose with the money in your account, right?
That's correct.
You may come home and your partner may be a little upset with you, but certainly there's no law that he couldn't have done whatever he wanted with that money, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, let's go to the next month. This is Mr. Fernandez's checking account, correct?
Yes, sir.
Same the statement I showed you before, except for this is the next month, 128 to 227, correct?
That's correct.
Still has $158,000 available to him, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is the following month, right? Same accounts.
That's correct.
This is after the homicide, 228 to 327, and he had 158,000. The ending balance was 96,000, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, and that was his own personal checking account.
That's correct.
Now, you suggested to the jury that he transferred $50,000. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
He transferred it to himself, correct?
You transferred it to the LLC.
First Choice Home Rentals.
Yes.
So it didn't come from the Gardner Trust, right? So if it was ever suggested to this jury that Mr. Fernandez transferred $50,000 a week after the homicide from the Gardner Trust to himself, that would not be true, would it?
I think it's a mischaracterization in the way you're stating it.
No, I want to make sure it's crystal clear. If it was ever represented to this jury that Mr. Fernandez transferred $50,000 from the Shanna Gardner Irrevocable Trust 1 week after the homicide to himself, that would not be true, would it?
At least part of those assets would have come from the trust, yes.
What assets came from the trust, detective? I just showed you that Mr. Fernandez had $212,000. Then the next month he had $196,000. He had plenty of money in his own personal checking account, right?
Yes, that would have come from the trust.
We just talked about that on 12/28 he deposited $75,000 from the Gardners, right?
Yes.
It didn't come from the trust, did it?
Overall, I'm saying the amount of money that he was only making $37,000 a year.
We have to be really careful with our words.
I agree.
Money goes from the trust account to, and I'm going to walk you through it. We're not going to guess, trust me. We're going to go through every single trust account record to see where that money went. But I'm asking you a very basic financial question. You can transfer money from the Shanna Gardner Trust to Mr. Fernandez. He could do that if he wanted to, correct?
Yes, he was the trustee.
That did not happen. That $50,000 did not come from the trust account, did it?
No, that specific transaction came from his account.
Right. And let's say on December 28th, Mr. Fernandez got $75,000. That could have come from the irrevocable trust, hypothetically, right?
Yes.
But it didn't. And this is why I want to make sure that words matter. Shanna Gardner's parents, Shelley and Sterling Gardner, wrote him a check for $75,000 at the end of the year, right?
Yes.
That's where that money came from.
The assets are commingled.
They're not.
They wrote him a $75,000 check, and he did transfer $50,000 from his account.
Okay. We're really going to figure this out together. The Gardners live in Utah, right?
Yes.
And they're private wealth clients of Chase Bank, correct?
Yes.
Because you know that because it says it right on the check. $75,000 This is an example of the 2 checks that the Gardners gave them, right?
Yes, sir.
You're saying it was commingled, it all came from the same place. This came from a checkbook as a Chase private client from Shelley and Sterling Gardner, right?
Yes, sir.
From their bank account, right?
Yes, sir.
That did not come from the irrevocable trust, correct?
No, that check was, the check that you just showed me was deposited into the trust.
Right. And the identical check, with the exception of it saying Shanna Gardner, it said Mario Fernandez, right?
Yes.
And that came from the Chase private wealth management banking account of Sterling and Shelley Gardner, right?
Yes, sir.
So that didn't come from the irrevocable trust, right?
That specific $75,000, no, it did not.
Okay. And in addition to all the other money that Mr. Fernandez had, you're saying, well, it's all commingled. It came from the irrevocable trust. Isn't that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Well, $35,000 of it came from Mercedes-Benz of Jacksonville when he sold his Tesla, right?
Yes.
That didn't come from the Shanna Gardner irrevocable trust, did it?
I mean, you'd have to go back and look and see. You'd have to have a much larger picture of knowing where the Tesla was purchased from.
The check came from Mercedes-Benz of Jacksonville, right?
For an asset that was sold to them, but we don't know how that was purchased.
You don't know. So you can't say it came from the Gardner irrevocable trust, can you?
You're correct, I can't.
Right. Because you know for sure it came from Mercedes-Benz of Jacksonville, right?
Yes.
So let's talk about 2 things that we know for sure. $75,000 came from the Gardners personally, not the trust account, right?
That's correct.
And $35,000 came from Mercedes-Benz, right?
Yes.
So that's $110,000 right there that we know for a fact did not come from the Gardner Trust, right?
It would depend on how the Tesla was purchased. There's no way to know that with the records that we currently have.
You're saying that whenever he bought the Tesla, when did he buy the Tesla?
I don't remember exactly when it was purchased.
So you don't even know if he was married when he bought the Tesla, do you?
Off the top of my head, no.
So you're trying to insinuate that possibly it could have come, this asset could have come from money that was given to him through the trust account for an asset that you don't even know when it was purchased, right?
I'm just saying that that is a possibility versus just saying that the Tesla was his outright, and so the money that he got from Mercedes-Benz was his and did not originate from the trust or the Gardners.
Well, let's circle back.
Okay.
Let's go to the trust. No. Let's go to the trust account.
Mr. Dreicer, could we take a break?
Sure.
Would that be too disruptive to you?
No, it's fine.
I'm going to say the jury will take 15 minutes, okay?
I don't.
All right, please let the record reflect that the jury's left the courtroom. Everyone may be seated. The court will be in recess for 15 minutes, so we'll come back at 3 o'clock.